All right, and we're live. Sorry, didn't want to catch you off guard by like pressing the live button as you were talking, but
And now we're late, so that's no, just kidding. It's
now
fine.
we're late. Yes,
Yeah.
happy Friday. We ended off on a red day. Congratulations, everybody. Group therapy session. Let's go. Roy,
It's
how
a
are you?
good. It's a fitting vibe of my setup with the Miami Heat behind me, the shirt, and then the microphone. So I mean, it was inevitable, but at least I
Yeah.
got power right now, so should be good to go on that. It's been a little while since we did a Fiesta Friday, so as a reminder for you guys, we got a few topics here today. We're of course gonna. The main topic is talking about the Fed. That's the story of the day. It's why the market moved the way it did. It also sets up expectations through the end of the year. And we'll talk about maybe some PayPal and this deal between them and Stripe that seemed like it fell apart, or it really never was. And we'll, of course, talk about a bot attack on data centers and what's happening there. We might throw in some things on like Iron had earnings, NVIDIA had earnings as well. A lot of Q&A. So after the first hour, we're going to hit that as it is Fiesta Friday. These oftentimes are financial related, but if you have some just off the wall, you're welcome to ask those too. And we always reserve the right to say no, but you guys make it a lot of fun. So glad to be here after missing last Friday. Tevis, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, it was generally an okay week for the market, even though we pulled back a little bit towards the end of the week, but I think now that Jackson Hole is behind us, we should be a little bit more safe, let's call it, for the next little while until we actually pull back before the midterms. But we'll talk about it.
Well, let's start with just a smaller topic. So today, like everything pulled back. So, well, I guess some software didn't, but that was about it. CRM, of course, reported this week, and software and a lot of other things flew together, which is kind of nice because I own some of it. One thing that has continued through this week, although it did fall today, was Bitcoin and crypto. So last week we weren't able to get together on Friday after all this price action. We talked a little bit about it
Yeah.
on earlier this week. But where are you at with crypto winter? Are we out of the woods? Are we near the end of winter? Is it the perpetual winter? What are you thinking?
I mean, look, like last week I said we'll take it 1 week at a time, and so far it's looking good. We were up again this week, and I know Bitcoin sort of fell uh, today, but generally it broke through 80,000. It was fairly okay. So again, too early to call it. Um, we're still going to give it another week, but I think it's looking good. I mean, seasonality is a big factor here as well.
Last week I would have said it's a late crypto rally. Although the size and scale we did talk about that was seeming like it was something more, but the duration was the one part that we didn't know. Now we're at basically a week and a half into the rally,
Yeah.
and it feels like crypto winter is probably over. This doesn't mean that we're going back up to all time highs. I kind of wish I had stuck to my plan, but CoreWeave gave us that really juicy dip. FIGR gave a dip. The market gave a dip, and so my money went that direction instead of crypto. But hindsight's 2020, and I still have exposure regardless. So, um, have you and you own crypto, correct? You own
Yes,
Bitcoin and Ethereum.
I own Bitcoin and Ethereum as well, and that's
Yeah,
pretty much it.
I have. That's the only things that I have, except for like 0.0001 Solana, and I wish I could just give it away so it doesn't show up on my exchange. I sold. I did a little trade in Solana, had a little bit left over. I'm like, it's not worth anything. Like, just get rid of this dust, but I can't do it. So, um, all right. So beyond crypto, the big story that do you want to start with that in the Fed, or do you want to go and talk about data center bots or PayPal, Stripe, or Nvidia?
Let's talk about the Fed with the market down today. So, yeah, Jackson Hole was today. We heard Warsh speaking earlier. Maybe run us through that, Roy.
Yeah, this so you don't have to go through the entire speech and notes. This is a summary of what Fed Warsh had said. Wall Street Engine, appreciate you for typing that up. But yeah, no timetable for a rate hike, and said the speech should not be viewed as forward guidance, and the market ignored that. it ignored that completely because you can see here rate expectations went from almost 2/3 chance of not hiking to basically 2/3 of a chance, not quite. Although if you do look at some other, this CME, I think it's better on these type of things, but of a hike. If you look at it through the end of the year, and we'll look at language that the market keyed off of in just a second, we again shifted from, a month ago, I was like, this is ridiculous. It should be a lot higher than 11%, just standing pat through the end of the year. Well, we climbed up to 28 and then 25, and now it's back to below 11. We're looking at somewhere between 1 or 2 rate hikes. It wouldn't surprise me if there is 1. It would surprise me a lot if there is 2. And I think that this is why everything flushed in the market today is market was kind of caught off sides, and it resets itself when rate expectations are reset, violently when rate hikes are on the table or rate cuts are removed, and less so when these taper off, but it still works both ways. So let's go on. Short-term interest rates remain the Fed's main policy tool. A good majority at the July meeting thought waiting was a wiser course, which, I mean, no surprise there. There's talk about the task force. So basically that's that they're looking at basically trying to reevaluate some of the gauges that they use for this inflation read, which is really good because a couple of the measures are like probably were never great and they're very outdated. So they talked about the need for signals remaining unfiltered. Macro overall, they're like, hey, things seem really good as far as the job market. They appear to have strengthened, consumers healthy, business investment is rising. And so they basically said that their main focus was price stability, which means with this war on inflation. And they're not moving from this 2% price target. And so this, I think, was when the market started reacting, somewhere around this time. He said if the Fed cannot be confident inflation is moving towards 2% clearly and at sufficient speed, War said we have work to do. And right then, well, actually, it was a little bit delayed reaction. It was kind of a weird thing that we saw right after the speech. So it tanked during the speech, and then the market climbed back up and acted like it didn't happen. And at the end of the day, it erased all of that as well. So inflation expectations remain broadly stable, but tend to look durable until they don't and have to be watched closely. So a lot of uncertainty, and basically, I think that this too long didn't read is right. He made clear that the current policy does not look particularly restrictive and that persistent inflation would require the Fed to act.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what he's going to say. I mean, if he says, "Hey, we're not going to be hiking," like you have to think about what can he say to give himself the biggest optionality in terms of him having the flexibility needed to make adjustments. What do I mean? What I mean is we have what, 2 more inflation prints and we have a jobs report between now and the next decision. We don't know what those, like, inflation is on the higher side right now, and 2-year moved up off the back of these comments. But you also have Besant, who's talking about buying back bonds on September 8th, which is of course a factor there. So the way that I read this was mostly as a bluff, because from his perspective, Warsh's, he wants optionality to be able to justifiably raise rates if that's called for, and to hold if that's called for. I put down a little bet actually on this, Roy, on the prediction markets, because the probabilities for a hike spiked up drastically from 30% to over 50%. And I said that the Fed is going to maintain rates. But similar, I mean, Powell has done similar things, right? He has sounded hawkish, and the stance of coming out sounding hawkish is a preventative measure for them to not actually raise, and it doesn't end up happening. It's the same thing as Besant was doing with, the note, buy Japanese yen. He doesn't need to. He just needs to sell that he's willing to if it comes to that. And I think the market, to Warsh's credit, is repricing in a rate hike. Doesn't mean he's going to hike. In fact, it might mean the exact opposite, that he's going to hold. But if he came out,
rate cuts.
No, if he came out and he said, hey, like if he sounded super dovish in that talk, then it would be really much more difficult to walk it back later on. So he needs to maintain that neutrality to some degree. And I'm not super surprised by what happened.
So Jackson Hole certainly isn't, a Fed meeting, but one thing that Powell did, and I think we might miss this about Powell, is before these major events, less so with Jackson Hole, but any sort of Fed meeting, we knew what was going to happen before. I think the biggest uncertainty we had was like a 10% chance of something happening, and 90% was saying the opposite. Versus here, I mean, even with what he said there, like you said, leaving the door open. Um, I actually like your bet. I would be a little bit surprised if they ended up raising. I think that more likely than not, they're just going to coast through the end of the year. But yeah, one rate hike would shock me. I don't think it would shock the market at this point. But yeah, 60% chance feels like that's overpriced. I'm not going to play it either way, but I've been tempted to. I have in the past, actually, and that's actually worked out really well. But this is way different than under Powell, where we had this very clear idea of exactly what we were going to expect. Now, there are 2 weeks left, a little bit above 2 weeks. So there is time for that to, of course, change and settle down. But I don't really like this. I like the certainty heading into these Fed minutes. I really didn't like it when they were moving away from the transitory stuff during COVID. And every single day, the market was hanging off of Powell's every single word. I don't like that environment. I don't think it's healthy for markets. I like the certainty and the stability. Hopefully we'll get that. But yeah, I don't know that it was necessary to even say as much as he said here today regarding like the openness to this. But if they are seriously thinking about raising, it is better to do it this way rather than have 90% chance of we're just standing pat and then nope, we're actually hiking twice. That would be a really, really red day. So.
Yeah, I agree. And this wasn't even that bad of a like, yes, it was a pullback, and yes, it kind of sucked for some high beta names and whatever. I mean, it's fine, dude. Like, if this is people panicking, then you're probably over leveraged because it's just a normal red day. It's a pullback. That's fine. I feel like the market these days is also like super rate sensitive. More so than previous years. Like in previous years, rates were whatever, but right now it's like there's entire like swing trade strategies, entire theses that center around what is the Fed gonna do, and it's just like, dude, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you actually have companies that are executing well. Like even rate sensitive companies, like a SoFi, for example, their business was fundamentally accelerating even in a high rate environment, even though like on paper they benefit from a low rate environment because they're a growing business, they're executing well. Like there's fundamental points that propel these businesses forward. So like a 25 basis point hike or cut or whatever, like is it fundamentally going to change the trajectory of these businesses? It's not like they're going to go bankrupt if you get a 25 basis point hike. I just feel like we're focusing on the wrong things these days.
Yeah. No, it is where we were back in through COVID until early 2024. And by the time we got to the election, the focus was clearly on AI. And I like that a lot better. I prefer, even though I know a lot of people don't like the way, including myself, that Trump handles things and handles communication sometimes. I prefer if the market's going to hang on every person's word that it's an elected official, not an unelected official. So this feels like it's going backwards, but at least I will say it's not as bad as it was in 2023 and 2024, where good news was bad news and bad news was good news, and that meant you saw a really healthy job market and labor market and everything. And then the market would tank on that because it's like, oh, we're going to be higher for longer in that environment, and it's just like, oh my goodness, like it makes me frustrated as an investor because it feels like the market is being so myopic. Now, to your point, with SoFi, let's pull this up real quick. So SoFi, obviously, it's they were going into the year and they were expecting 2 rate cuts along with everybody else. It wasn't just SoFi. And instead, we got 2 rate, not possibly 2 rate hikes through the end of the year. So it's not fared well. It's down 34% year to date. But you look at what they've actually achieved, and I think that like there's 2 things here. So one is like the total revenue right here is up 42% year over year. EPS is basically backloaded, so the second 2 quarters are going to be very strong for SoFi. But this is in an environment where they had restrictive monetary policy, that there were no changes at all, and a thought of raising all through the year after like March, after really the Iran stuff. So maybe that happened in mid-March. So like they're performing incredibly well despite this certain policy. And the other thing is, like, if SoFi was still trading back, let's take the peak here at $32.21, I might be a little bit more concerned with the stock. At $18, what are we talking about? Like, the PEG ratio is 0.6. The price to earnings over the next 12 months is 24. Like, this is not wild, generous valuation. Now, there are some companies out there that are going to be impacted by rates that are not cheap at all, and they might have further to fall in such an environment. But, a lot of this, it feels like it's priced in. And usually when the market prices in something, this, Tevis, I'm letting our audience know this too, it tends to overdo it. Upside and downside, we're going to like way overreact, and eventually we're going to get back to where we should be. So that feels like what we're at with like SoFi. FIGR's another one of those that I hold that's rate sensitive. They're growing at 100% year over year. Like, it's in this environment. Like, am I concerned about FIGR? No. Like, they're going to be just fine. Now, they will not perform as well as they would, obviously, if we had 2 rate cuts versus 2 rate hikes. But these companies are fine and durable. It's not a big deal. It might be a little bit of impact more on some traditional banks, just because they still have loans that they're basically, if we're looking at their lending policy, those loans are going to be worth a lot less if there are some rate hikes on the table. And SoFi, certainly has loans. It'll be an impact for them. But a lot of banks have a lot of loans that they have racked up, expecting rate cuts and expecting it to be very profitable. And as a result, they may take a hit or a haircut a little bit further with their stock price action.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. We need to talk about this. Thank you, Matthew Johnson. Tevis?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I also am not concerned around FIGR. I made a video yesterday, and I posted it this morning around me buying FIGR. And one of the big reasons was because we were going into a rate cut environment in 2027, and they're already posting 100+% growth rates in this current environment. And I think not only from a volume perspective in their marketplace, but also just it's going to translate down to revenue and ultimately EPS as well, as rate cuts benefit their business. So, like, rates, they do have an impact. It's just not like the emotional reactions that the market has. Like, war says something and the entire market is down today. It's just it doesn't make sense. But if you extrapolate over the course of a year, let's say, I know that the market is forward looking. I know that the market is going to be expecting rate cuts in 27. I know that rate cuts are going to benefit this business fundamentally. Yeah, sure. I want to position myself ahead of that. And even as a swing trade, Roy, I mean, I said in that video that every new position that I'm going into right now, it's like swing trade until, I love it enough to make it a long-term position. Because if, let's say, we go into September and we have rates steady, if inflation falls and it's looking like a better situation from a macro perspective, and then rate cuts start being on the table. I mean, I think I saw some were even forecasting rate cuts as early as the first half of 2027. I want to be front loading the market anticipation, right? The market is forward looking, and the market is going to dive into rate sensitive stocks. SoFi is for sure going to catch a bid. FIGR is going to catch a bid. A lot of these companies that are high beta risk on companies are going to catch a bid. I want to be positioning myself in front of them. And so I opened a position in FIGR because I just think not only does the fundamental business benefit, but also the perception of the business will benefit, and the multiple will expand as well as the rate environment expectations change.
Yeah, the other part on that too is, and I would encourage you, like, even if it's a short video, just do like a little 5-minute, like, while you're in that, because it's interesting to me, even though so what you've said, like that has a benefit on both the business and also the stock. There's one other psychological thing that I think doesn't really have much of an impact on the business, but will on the stock, and that's crypto winter. Figure is a cryptocurrency company, but it's not like all the others. I mean, like everybody might say that with their own individual like crypto, but what I mean is they use cryptocurrency basically to empower traditional lending and iron out a lot of efficiencies. It's vertically integrated, and so like they do a little bit, a tiny bit of lending against crypto, but it's such a small part of their revenue. It's not a meaningful amount. Like the price of crypto has no impact on them as a business, no material impact. And but the perception itself in a crypto winter, like you can look at this, there is a correlation, even though there is a high degree of alpha as far as the way that the stock moves. It's pretty strong to cryptocurrency and other crypto names. And so you would expect if we are at the end of crypto winter or if we're near it, doesn't really matter over the next couple of years, they'll also benefit from that too, because it's like, oh, crypto is great again. You're a crypto company, we'll give you a premium instead of giving you a discount right now. I don't think the market should either way, but that's just what the market does. That's, of course, not my central investment thesis, but it is one of those factors when you're looking at where a stock can go.
Yeah. And just for people who are commenting, the rate cut path is really a narrative that I believe will start taking shape towards the end of this year. That is absolutely not the consensus right now. Nobody thinks we're going to get a rate cut in 26, but there is definitely a possibility, maybe a probability even, that we're going to get rate cuts in 27. The market is forward looking. So by the time Warsh is talking about rate cuts, it might be February of 27, and the market is going to be expecting it earlier than that. Why? Well, because naturally the macro is going to benefit. Inflation is going to come down. This war with Iran thing is not like these are not permanent things that are happening. And so that narrative, like we were expecting rate cuts this year, right? And then the war with Iran happened and the Fed chair got changed out, and there were extenuating circumstances that led to us not having a rate cut this year. That macro is still on the board for 27. Go ahead, Ray.
No, I was going to say you're absolutely right. And I think without the Iran situation, we would be in an environment where we'd have already seen one, and we'd be talking about a second rate cut. Instead, that's been a real driver of inflation. It's still not as hot as I would have thought it would be with Hormuz effectively sealed. I know Trump says one thing, but I mean the reality is you can look at these ships, and yes, some do turn off the transponder, and there is a little bit of traffic here and there, but it's not like it was before. So this is expectations for October 27th, 2027, as far as we go out on CME Fed Watch. And the current environment right now, so we're here, only 5.6% think that we're just going to stand pat. Everybody else says hikes. And then Tevis is, as you guys know, because of his wealth and his intelligence, is a one percenter. But he's also a one percenter here where he's expecting a rate cut or two. I think that you're not wrong. I think that, macroeconomic factors are such that as long as this Iran situation actually gets resolved, and maybe it never gets resolved. I mean, it's lasted a long time. It could be for the next 5 years. I hope not. My goodness. But regardless, like if that's the case, yeah, rate hikes probably are on the table. But if it gets resolved, I don't see why that this would remain this low. Instead, I think that we'd start seeing this priced in. It has two effects. One is, of course, we'll have days the opposite of today where the market starts realizing, hey, rate hikes are back rate cuts are back on the table, and we'll start pricing some of that in. And then the other factor, of course, is what happens with the underlying businesses as they make these decisions. But I do think it's going to be after the election. I don't know that it's going to move around much here, but yeah, inflation is nasty. I don't want to see it getting out of control, but it's just frustrating that it's something that we did ourselves just because of the Iran situation.
I didn't know that I was this much of a contrarian expecting great cuts in 2027. What I will say from that CME tool is that those are numbers from today after we heard Warsh's hawkish commentary, which frankly, I'm not buying. I think it's a bluff. I think rates are going to stay steady. Look, I put money on the line. then I think rates are going to stay steady in September. So if I'm wrong, I'm actually going to be losing money directly from that poly market bet. But if I am right, and this is a very well calculated bluff that he's making, then guess what? Rate cuts is not going to sound as contrarian as it does right now. People, I think, have recency bias. People, I think, have zero concept of how long a year is because so much can change in a year, right? And I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of outs that I have in that bet. The moment, do you remember in July last month, all of a sudden the base case became that rates would stay and we wouldn't get a hike and all would be good. We would have zero hikes for the remainder of 27. What happened? We got CPI numbers were better, and then we got like the Iran war, like the memorandum or whatever. It was concluding immediately within a week. That narrative changed. Wars can come out tomorrow and he can say something. Trump can come out tomorrow and he can say something. We're like it is so there's so much that can happen that can change the board. Okay. There's a lot of optionality that you have. There's a lot of outs that you have. And so I think that's the way that you got to start thinking about it. Not so much that, like, the consensus is, of course, that war sounded hawkish, therefore sell. That's a very binary outcome. You're not going to be making outsized gains that way. But I think you need to start looking through the words to the incentives. And I think the incentives are aligned with rate cuts in 2027. So I could be wrong, but if I'm right, I have an outsized probability of making money versus if I'm wrong, I'm just following, what the market is doing on a daily basis. There's no alpha there.
Yeah. For me, I think it's just easier to play stocks that you like that you'd want to own anyway. And if there's rate cuts, man, they're going to do even better. So, but yeah, predictions markets are a nice tool if you do want something to hedge like very directly, because who knows, a company could stumble. But if you're right on that bet, you make money. So. 252 trading days. Okay.
Steve says, we're not picking fights. I'm a big fan of Tevis, but I added the big part. I'm a fan of Tevis, but Canada has gotten away with too much trade imbalance. Bro, I'm an honorary American. Don't you know this by now? Are you new to these shows, Steve? Like, this. I identify as a person, an American living in Houston. And that's just how I identify, man. Like, don't let me affirm how I want to be living my life.
All right. Let's move on to the next couple of topics. So one of them I wanted to mention is PayPal. I think that you saw the news. There was a rumor last night. We ended up seeing PayPal fall. I think it touched just above $50. I didn't think it'd fall below 50. I don't own it anymore. Of course, I got out of it. But PayPal was buoyed in part because there was a rumor. It seemed like it was a rumor with some credibility that Stripe and Advent were looking at buying PayPal, and they made an offer, and the board said, nope, it's too low. We're not going to do that. I even wrote an article saying that Google should actually consider buying PayPal. Not for the reasons you guys think, but it would have actually made a lot of sense in their ecosystem. But regardless, there was a rumor last night that PayPal that Stripe is no longer pursuing PayPal, and it seems like that's credible. It's Bloomberg. Bloomberg doesn't always get it right, but we have not heard anything to the contrary. PayPal settled down at like $53 a share. Tevis, did the board mess up by not accepting that offer?
Yes. But this board is no stranger to mess ups, Roy. They've embodied that word wholeheartedly for years now. And the biggest losers out there are PayPal shareholders because consistently, year after year, they've gotten cheaper shares and heavier bags thanks to that board. And it's just ridiculous. It's unfair. It's frankly stupid. But hey, what can you do, man? PayPal thinks that they deserve more, yet the market ceases to believe them at this point. And they're going to get what they deserve, which is a $50 stock price.
I think the issue is, you're right. Like, the board has made a lot of mistakes. And, one of the biggest is getting rid of Alex Chris. And since they got rid of him, they got rid of many of the people he hired on. Not everybody, but almost everybody. and have ditched most of the innovation that he was bringing on board. It was taking longer than we had expected. The board ran out of patience, and it seemed like the best strategy was, hey, let's cut. Problem is, like, you can cut more certainly, but that's the strategy that they have right now. Now, if you look at where they're at as a business,
Yeah.
PayPal is objectively worth more than that offer. Like, it is. You look at the free cash flow; it's immense. You can see, they're not losing money as far as revenue yet, but it's pretty close, and they have guided for the possibility of actually negative revenue fairly soon. So I think that this group, Stripe, of course, is looking at them and saying, okay, we're buying a business that is now at this point, I would say it's distressed. I don't think it was a year ago.
Yeah.
That they're cutting costs and everything, but they're not really innovating. They're not really growing at all, and they're probably going to start shrinking. And so they're going to buy it based on future projections. This is how you have to do it in the business. Conversely, like if PayPal was growing at 50% year over year, you wouldn't buy it based on what it was doing right here. You'd buy it for what it'd be worth in a few years. And so, like, that's a challenge. Is the board's like, hey, right now we're worth more. True. But Stripe also is like, hey, you're not worth as much in a few years because you've ditched innovation, you've ditched growth, you're just cutting costs, and there's only so much you can do on that. So, yeah, PayPal, I feel bad for shareholders that are in this. Now, I do think that there's a scenario, of course, where they can get back in the 60s, but it's going to take a lot of time. And I mean, some people might think, oh, it's maybe just a few quarters, it'll be back there. It could take 3 years to get back to $60 a share. I do think that maybe like the way that this ends up ending is that down the road, maybe a few years, they get an offer at or even below what Stripe had offered. And at that point, they accept because they've actually started losing revenue year over year instead of gaining.
Yeah, look, man, what I'll say is, and this is exactly what I'm blaming the board for, Roy, is back when they had Alex Chris, they were taking risks. They were investing in the business to try to accelerate growth. The moment that they fired Alex Chris and put on the new CEO, Enrique Lores,
Yeah.
the entire thesis for PayPal was to cut costs and sell it, essentially, was find the efficiencies and sell. Well, what better buyer are you going to have on the other side of that than Stripe? Surely you can negotiate a deal, but I think maybe because of their greed, maybe because of their just sheer blindness, they think that they're worth more than what Stripe is offering them. It's not just $65 a share, man. You can structure that deal where you can buy, with Stripe stock, and Stripe is going to go public in sometime in 2027, most likely, right? And PayPal will appreciate in a growing brand. That Stripe portfolio is on the way up. So the point is like, you can't restructure your entire business to pretty it up for a seller. And then when one of the best sellers around comes to buy, you play hardball. You're not going to do that because guess what? To your point exactly, the growth is going to fade away because you're not investing in increasing that growth. And your portfolio is going to look shittier. Like your financial profile is going to look less compelling to another potential buyer. Not to mention that Stripe is actually synergistic. They have the money to do it. They have a growing brand. You could have structured that deal in such a way that's accretive for many years to come. And so this is why I'm saying it's entirely the board's fault because they're wanting their cake, to have it and to eat it too, to say, hey, we're a growing brand, but you're not. To say, hey, we're worth more than 65, but you're not investing in the brand. And to say, hey, we hired a CEO to cut costs so we can trade ourselves up for a bidder. But then when that bidder comes, you say no. So it's like, what the hell do you want?
Yeah, I don't fault the board necessarily for not taking the offer. I fault them for getting in that position in the first place. Like it was very clear that their strategy, like even talking about operating Venmo as an independent business unit. I mean, like you're very much putting a price tag on yourself, and if you do that, usually you're going to get lower offers unless there is a bidding war. And they didn't get the offer, obviously, that they were hoping to get, and so they don't have a strategy. It's actually, this is not the first time that's happened to PayPal. There were rumors that the reason why Dan Schulman's last few years seemed so listless is he had planned to retire that year that COVID hit. And he's like, hey, I'm not going to leave you guys during this time. And as a result, there was no strategy there. And it just like, this is a name that outside of Alex Chris, and I know people might be upset with him, whatever, but he provided real leadership and real direction, real vision. Didn't work out. I think he needed more time. Regardless, that's really been the only time over like the last 8 years where they've had credible leadership. Now, man, there is a price where I'd maybe swing trade PayPal just like Chris Patel did, but probably not. Like realistically, if you get those prices on PayPal, we'd see some very cheap names that are a lot more attractive in the market. And I prefer long-term investing over swing trading anyway. Probably enough PayPal there, right? Another very interesting thing that really stood out to me this week. We talk a lot about data centers, and I'll bring this up too during the Data Center Weekly podcast. And we'll talk. I see some questions on IREN, but this right here was posted by X's Global Affairs team, and they said that they had conducted an interview and found 200,000 accounts that were basically posting a lot of things that were anti-data center, originating in China, just trying to carry out this. And of course, with 200,000, probably that's all that there is, Tevis, and there's none on any other platforms. Is that probably fair?
Oh my God, you're gonna rage bait me with this topic, but it's the topic I've been most looking forward to chatting about this episode. This absolutely exists and is prevalent across all social media platforms. It is a big reason why people think that they believe what they do, because their curated feeds of social media give them a picture that somebody benefits for them to see, and it plants seeds in their mind. And then they go out on the side of a fucking highway protesting a data center that they don't know what that data center does. They don't know really why they're protesting it, but they're just listening to what their algorithm gave. And it just so happens that that algorithm is curated by foreign parties who are influencing and meddling in local affairs to try to slow down the US in a geopolitical race. And these dummies are entirely falling for it. Somewhere in the world, G is laughing his ass off at this, man, because of how gullible these people are and how absolutely blindly they follow their algorithms.
Yes. Now, I do want to say something that I think that you agree with as well, that we're not saying that all data center opposition is inorganic and it's from the CCP or Russia or whoever, hostile entities. There certainly is a portion, and it may even be the majority, that is organic, whether informed or misinformed. Like there are legitimate reasons why people would be concerned, and there's a bunch of crazy stuff like all the cattle will die and just like weird things about just off the wall, like the water stuff. Power, that's a fair one there. But like what percent, I guess, Tevis, do you think is organic versus inorganic towards this? If
Man,
you
I'm
had
such
to
a
guess.
conspiracy theorist when it comes to this stuff because it's the chicken and the egg, Roy. Like, what came first? Was it a seed that was planted by, these accounts and by certain politicians, maybe that they're bought, let's call it, and they're spewing their own memorandums and moratoriums out there, and then somebody genuinely believes it? Or did it actually spur from the Sophie Cunninghams of the world who had an original thought that happened to be, oh, NVIDIA is the big bad wolf and we should sell our stock so we can crash NVIDIA and then, not have data centers anymore? I would venture to say it's the first scenario. It's somebody actually wants to push a narrative, and they have at their disposal the means by which to do that. They have a social media feed. They have resources where they can do bot farms. They can manipulate public thought. They have a couple of politicians who can introduce these. And like what I'm saying sounds like a conspiracy theory because a lot of people might not want to believe it. But the question I ask myself when I see this stuff is not necessarily vindication of thinking the way that I do, Roy. It's more fear, because this is only the topic that was caught It's only the topic that's in the limelight. What else? What else has followed this exact playbook and has won out? What bills have passed? What laws? What public opinions have shaped over the last 10 years as a result of this entire exact playbook?
Well, I can tell you like one for sure. I know you're saying it's a rhetorical question, and I probably shouldn't get an answer, but I mean Palantir very clearly. Now, is there organic concern with Palantir? Sure, but like I think did we talk about it here? I'm not sure if we did. There was this viral post which tagged a video that actually dates back in March and shows a government system. It's Maven Smart System. My most recent Palantir video talks about it and this huge opportunity for Palantir. But it's like Palantir has this new surveillance system, and they might partner with Flock and all these. It's like they don't have a surveillance system. You're showing an old video that is actually for government targeting. Now, if you don't like that part of Palantir, you don't want that. That's fair enough. But regardless, it's not what they were saying. And then the wording was almost word for word. Now, there was a couple of different versions out there, but it was very clear that this was all bot behavior. Now, we've seen that with data centers. We've seen that with Palantir. Basically, it seems like most of this is concentrated, Tevis, with AI that's actually working or the underpinnings of AI here in the United States. And it seems like, I don't know, we could speculate on what the agenda is, but it seems like at least that there are parties that are hostile to the United States that are like, hey, they are going to benefit immensely from things like Palantir and the ramp up of data centers overwhelmingly. Let's see what we can do to slow that down. Again, I'm not saying that it's all inorganic. I'm actually guessing that probably about on the data centers, maybe half of it's organic. But man, it's certainly fueled by something that does not have, that is not who they seem to be, because they're all like American sounding names. And even like with a lot of these accounts, I'm sure that you've seen this, they are paying the subscription fee on X now. A lot of the bots are. Just because you pay the $8 or whatever it is a month doesn't mean you're not a bot.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, you're thinking about the Palantirs and the Flocks I'm thinking about like all of these protests, not even AI related right now, just protests around America, the No Kings rallies and all of these other things. It's just like they interview these people, and in many cases they find out, oh, they're paid protesters. And it's like, okay, well, like what I'm trying to say is look at the ulterior motives and look at the behind the scenes, and it tells a clear, coherent story. This is not just the data center thing. I think social media is susceptible to all kinds of, bad actors, let's call it, for all kinds of different topics.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think that the no Kings is more organic. I know some people that are on that side of the aisle, and they're very sincere. But yeah, I think across the board, and it's also not just like a left wing type of thing either. Like there's some right wing out there for sure that you'll see both sides of it. It's a mess. Sometimes the goal. I guess I don't want to get like too deep in the weeds, but sometimes the goal is just simply to create confusion and division.
Sure.
We're pretty good at dividing ourselves and being confused anyway, and so it doesn't really take that much of an expense in terms of bots to add fuel to the fire. So, but yeah, it's just strange. One other thing, I don't know if you saw this, and I'm not going to play it because there is a lot of vulgarities in there. But there was a interview out with Ed Zitron here.
I didn't see this. Is it the short seller guy?
No, he is. Let me pull him up. Yeah, Better Offline CEO, and he runs a newsletter, and he's very skeptical of AI. And so he calls himself an AI whistleblower, and he said that you and I, Tevis, essentially are psychopaths. Now, not quite, because he specifically said something really funny. He said, if you dare criticize Anthropic, if you don't say that Sam Altman is the new Messiah, they will come for you, they'll rip you to shreds, and so forth. And I'm going to be very careful not to make sure that they'll rip you to shreds every day online. It feels like he's never been on the internet before, because this has been a thing even before the internet, tribalism. This is the funniest thing. Did you see the Time News article?
Yeah,
Um,
Paris Hilton is like more influential than Karp or Jensen. Is that what you're
I
talking about?
posted, yeah, I posted it. And I don't know where it's at. Um, it's a Time article, and Amit actually posted it. So yourself, myself, Amit, a whole bunch of people, most of our audience are very much in favor of data centers and AI, and yet you see this on Time, and it's like, trust us? No, no, we're good. Like, who is calling Sam Altman a messiah? Like, so it's it just feels so strange that not only are there all these bots and everything that are trying to get and sway people's opinion on data centers, but there's people that basically are saying some fantastical argument that there's all these AI fanboys that are out there that are so passionate that are saying Sam Altman is Messiah, which no, like and so we're psychopaths because we see AI and we see data centers as largely very bullish. So like it just can we just look at the facts instead of emotion? And the answer is obviously not.
Dude, I was hating on Sam Altman before it was cool. This is like 2 years ago.
You and me both.
At this point, like I don't understand why so many views are pushed to extremes. Like I can say that I don't trust neither Dario nor Sam, but I'm bullish on AI overall because of the potential that it has to usher in a paradigm shift in our technology and our way of life. I don't need to blindly, have Sam Altman be a messiah in my mind for that to happen. You gotta sort of separate the things out. And I think people who make these claims make it in such an inflammatory way where they so closely associate the actual technology with the CEO of one of the company. It's like, dude, I don't care. I don't trust Sam. I don't trust Dario, but I also can't deny that AI is not a force majeure in our lives, whether for good or for bad. I don't know that yet.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's going to be both.
Yeah.
Tools, they're going to be used by evil people for evil things, they're going to be used by good people for good things, and a lot of stuff that is kind of subjective. It's a shade of gray. But yeah, regardless, it's here to stay. Of course, characterizing that we had two earnings, actually a bunch of earnings, but two earnings in particular, which really are near and dear to the data center trade and AI. One was NVIDIA and the other was Iron. Did you capture any of these earnings, Tevis?
I talked about them with Nate
Nate, that's
yesterday
right.
a
You were
little
cheating
bit.
on me. I see.
It's somebody commented, they're like, "Does this mean you're not going to do the show with Roy anymore?" I'm like, dude, like I can just do. I was like, I I even told this to Nate on camera. I was like, "Oh, I wanted to hop on with you because Roy is literally interviewing somebody about Rivian," and Nate said, "I'm your second choice." And I was like, "Dude, like, do you want to fucking go on the show or not?"
Nate's awesome.
So
So
it's just, whoa, $50 from
okay,
Risky.
we got some donations we need to give things. So you start.
This is a couple of shots on me for both of you. Thank you. Thanks for everything you guys do to the community. Thank you so much, Risky Investor. And let's read the other ones too.
Yeah.
So 20 joules for Mr. Roy. Loose wife of Wisconsin. I bought 500 shares of ServiceNow at $96. Congratulations. Yeah, ServiceNow hit my price target of 140. That's really the thesis that I had early June. From 96 to over 140, you're sitting on some nice gains. So congrats on those. And
One thing I'll say is, yeah,
Mhm.
software that it's incredible how it's shifted now to like today. Software names were just about the only thing that was up.
Yeah.
The market's like, ooh, semi gross. Software, on the other hand, and it's like 6 months ago it was the opposite. So it's funny. Congrats on the gains here.
And the last one, Risky Investor again with the $2. Thoughts on Amazon upcoming EA
Fuel Cell and Broadcom.
EA like the EA Sports? No, that went private, right?
I'm not sure. Yeah, Electronic Arts. It says no longer publicly traded. So,
Yeah, Saudis bought
hmm.
it, but I don't think he means the company. Upcoming something something
Earnings,
executive
maybe
earnings.
earnings. I know Broadcom reports soon. Fuel Cell probably does too. Yeah, I have not tracked Fuel Cell in like 5 years, so
Yeah,
I can't tell you much on that. Broadcom, I mean, they're positioned well, but there's a lot of competition in this space. But yeah, the TAM is exploding, so they should be just fine. I don't follow them closely. I have to know how this earnings will be, though.
yeah. All right. What?
So, but
Yep.
before we get into Q&A, NVIDIA,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
maybe we'll touch on Iron as well. So the thing that like really there's a couple of things that was interesting with NVIDIA, and I'm still working on one. I'm writing an article where effectively what Colette delivered, the CFO there of NVIDIA, was a state of AI address. And they spent almost 30 minutes. It was like 28 minutes or something, and some of it was very specific to NVIDIA, but a lot of it was just like, here is the picture that we have of all the stuff that's going on, and here's all the data points. And Jensen, his question about that in the Q&A, and he's like, hey, we have all these reads, we're positioned here, so we see more of this than anybody else, and so we wanted to make sure it was very clear what's happening and why, and we felt like that was very important. So I love that. The other thing that like NVIDIA specific, which was fascinating, I mean, there's a lot. But one piece was that they actually guided for the not just the full year, but like really basically 6 quarters out, because we have the rest of this year and we have their fiscal year 28, which is calendar year 27, and they guided for 70% growth. They also gave us a margin read as well. They've never guided out that far before, and so they analysts. I think there's 3 different analysts that ask questions on that. They're like, okay, you've never done this before, so how could you have the confidence to do this now? And they're basically like, yeah, supply constraint, and we're basically sold out, so it's like really easy to project. Now they'll probably come in north of that, but that 70% figure, like the analysts were coming in, they were looking at Nvidia growing over that time like 45, 48%, something like that. So it's meaningfully ahead of where they were. So really significant, really interesting. And I was actually really glad too. Although, of course, the market knocked it right back down, that NVIDIA showed some price appreciation during earnings. It's still a stable coin, so it's going to be stuck here. Maybe like 2087, it might start moving, but no, great earnings though. Anything stand out to you, good or bad, or interesting from NVIDIA beyond that?
Man, I mean, I DM'd you after that. I was like, how, like, this is the best company ever. And I feel like we say that after every NVIDIA earnings, but to have a $5 trillion company grow 100% and then guide for 70% growth in 2028, what is going on? You know, and like they increased their commitments to like what 249 billion or something like that. And then also they were saying that Jensen said that the payback periods for these data centers is less than a year.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Do you think it's maybe something that they're seeing just recently or with one of the smaller names, or is this just him pulling something from the Nebius earnings call and taking it a little bit out of context?
I don't know. I mean, that is a staggering statement to make. If it's a general one, if it's like, hey, one of the partner, it's still very impressive, even if it is one partner, but it just speaks to the demand out there. I know he was saying it around how efficient NVIDIA is, but I was saying this to Nate yesterday. Like, look, man, if you're going to have a payback period on a data center be less than a year, and you're selling everything that you absolutely can, and the depreciation on these chips in that data center is actually 9 years instead of the 4 or 5 years you're forecasting, absolutely you're going to spend as much money as you can possibly get your hands on to build as many of these as possible. Like you're just minting money at that point, right? Like if I said to you, hey Roy, whatever money you invest, you're going to get that back in a year, and then it's going to print money for you every single year. It's a magic box. What are you going to do? You're going to sell all your investments. You're going to go out and take a loan. You're going to sell your house. You like every single thing that you can do to get as much money and leverage as you possibly can to plow it into this because it's guaranteed payback in a year. And then from then on out, it keeps on making money. Like, that concept is absurd. And this is coming from the CEO of the biggest company in the world who's growing 100%. Like, they're proving it out every year. So,
Bears will push back on that and say, well, of course he's saying these things. He has a vested interest to do that. And that's fair.
Sure. Cool.
But
Does it make it
also,
not
you have
true?
to go back. You like look at his track record over the last few years. He's said these things, and almost every single one without fail comes true. Or if he's wrong, it's usually it's even better than he projected. So, it's a pretty good track record. Are you going to listen to them or some guy that's like, oh man, NVIDIA is really expensive because it's a 5 trillion market cap?
Dude, who
ignoring everything else? Sure. Price to earnings, by the way, forward price earnings. It's up now relative to where we talked about this before. Guess what the forward price to earnings is? Now the analysts have increased the earnings.
I don't even want to guess. Very low, but go for
18. This next 12 months. This is not 2 years out. This is next 12 months.
Dude, like
18.
I feel like some people are just addicted to staying poor, if that makes sense. Like, they just hate making money because, like, I don't care that Jensen has a vested interest in this ecosystem. What he's saying is true. Like, the ecosystem is growing. He's not just pulling these facts out of a hat, like they're true. And they speak to the demand. And so you can go ahead and you can hate Jensen, you can hate NVIDIA all you want, but you can't change the direction of where this technology is going. For the fact that these guys can comfortably guide for 70% growth 2 years from now, like, how are we not just putting our legs up, our feet up on the table and saying, hey, cool, we're very happy to be holders of all of these data center companies for the next 2 years. You know why? Because I know that every single one of the gains is guaranteed. How is it guaranteed, Tevis? Because they're going to sell everything that they freaking produce.
Yeah. Yeah, it like there are, of course, questions, and they need to be asked on margins. There's questions, of course, on competition. Fair, but like it's not demand constrained, it's supply constrained. And so analysts actually had asked and said, if you were not supply constrained, what would this actually look like? Now, this is when you have a company that has a long track record, rather than, it's always good to like comp them to the sector, comp them to peers, comp them to the market, but also compare it to itself. NVIDIA, of course, has been public for a long time. Very different company now, of course, than they were back in 2016. But if we look at this, like other than, like back in early 2016 or late 2016, they were down this low. But right here in late July, we got down to a 16 forward price to earnings, the lowest that they've ever been. Ever. Now, that would make a lot of sense if these guys were actually PayPal in disguise, and it was like, hey, revenue is falling off a cliff, and it's going to start slowing, and there's not really a lot of demand for your product. They're growing at 100% year over year. They've forecasted for the next 6 quarters, basically 70% plus growth. They'll probably hit north of that as well. And so, like, the estimates, like, it's ridiculous. We look at, here's revenue. Look at this huge increase, Tevis. Like, you can see the increases back here. Relatively muted compared to this. This is gigantic. The analysts realized how offsides they were. And if you look at the expectations, they're still not where NVIDIA forecasted them. We look at price targets. I think Raymond James came out with the highest one at 515. Price targets are like one thing. Like, don't put too much like stock into them, but like they're like, no, this is very attractive. EPS is just exploding. And here again, like the revisions, 3.68 before they're like, yeah, 3.1. Incredible. Like this is insane.
It is, dude. It's absolutely staggering. So
it's not bad for a stable coin.
I mean, there's a couple of questions, and we will address the questions. But first, before we go into Q&A, there was a little bit of breaking news here, Roy, that just came out 13 minutes ago. And let me get your thoughts on it.
Okay. Well,
So
and we'll by the way save the iron stuff. I see a couple of questions that are saved. We'll hit those in the Q&A.
we'll hit those in the Q&A. Breaking news on oil. Trump here posted on Truth, the U.S. has entered into an agreement with Venezuela on the biggest oil deal in the world history. Let me just read the summary here because it's going to be. It says the U.S. has made a deal to secure majority control of more than 65 billion barrels of Venezuelan crude oil at no cost to the American taxpayer. Trump says this more than doubles U.S. oil reserves and is, quote, the biggest oil deal in world history. 65 billion barrels. What is going on? What is oil doing right now? Is my question.
Yeah, let's take a look.
What is going on?
Got natural gas in the mine, so I pulled up TCF. That's around me. Let's see. Oil futures. Yeah, WTI. That's right. That's probably the one that's hit first, and then.
So Venezuela has around 300 billion barrels of oil.
I believe the world's largest proven reserves, like it in like one isolated area. So, I think they're number 3 on the planet, maybe number 4. Yeah, this is maybe not as great of a chart as I was hoping. Let's look at like the last 5 days. It's actually holding up fairly well. Is this? I don't look at WTI that often. Yeah, I'm in the right thing. So, and then yeah, Brent is probably, remember the ticker symbol. I don't trade futures often, so or at all. Yeah, 88. So it's kind of sitting there. So my guess is I know that Venezuela had underinvested in their oil infrastructure for a long time. You know, when they seized that, nationalized it rather. That tends to be what happens in socialist states. And so as a result, between that and damage that may have resulted from the things with Venezuela, it may be a while before that oil is actually put on market. And like that announcement, it's hard to know, like, okay, what does he mean, like at no cost to the American taxpayers? Are we banana republicing Venezuela now? Hopefully not. But I'm just guessing that we're not paying to like improve their infrastructure. They're doing this, and we're able to help get it to market or not. But usually, when you announce something like that, if their infrastructure is the way that, from what I understand, it's pretty bad, it might be a couple of years before that really starts flowing meaningfully. So the market is forward-looking, but commodity market is not that forward-looking as far as like near-term price.
Dude, doubling the U.S. oil reserves is crazy.
Yeah.
And yes, Venezuela has 303 billion barrels of oil reserves, 17% of global total, ahead of Saudi Arabia. I mean, yeah.
And this is heavy sour crude. So it's a little different than what we're used to. It's good for making some very different things than what our light sweet does here in Texas.
Yeah, but like, how would it work? Is it just that the U.S. would invest in just pumping it, and like, how is this no cost to the taxpayer? Just private companies get a cut, or what?
The way it should work is private companies come in and they invest and they build the infrastructure themselves, and then it's the same model. And so they basically have these proven reserves, take or pay contracts that they issue, and then they bring it on at a certain time. They'll take on debt for those projects, and then the United States just has greater access to it. I'm not sure, but like one of those things is like if you look at the shipping logistics, like this will have to be shipped by these, and thankfully there's a very large durable fleet that's able to do this. It's a lot less specialized in the LNG fleet, but if you're shipping here to the United States, yeah, no big deal. If you're shipping all the way to Europe or over in Japan somewhere, like there's a lot more cost to that. It takes a lot more time as well. So, but yeah, good. It's a good thing if that oil really does start flowing. I wonder if that is how much of that is and was done as far as the announcement to alleviate some of those concerns with inflation regarding the closure of the State of Hormuz. But there are some things still that, like LNG is one of those where you're not getting that out of Venezuela, I don't believe. It's just the heavy sour.
Yeah, so Claude is saying a plausible version is we have 100-year lease structure that would give U.S. companies access to Venezuelan output, and yeah, gives Gulf refiners or nearby heavy crude source meaningful over 10 to 20 years is what Claude is saying. So I think that understanding is correct. It would just allow them access to be able to have all of this to this crude essentially.
Yeah, the other factor too, and I wish Matt Money was here because he is actually an expert in this space. Is the refining process is very different for this type of crude than it is the light sweet. So probably new refineries would have to be rebuilt built for this, and that also takes time. So yeah, I hope that's not the case, Prince. I hope it's just American companies are going in there and investing and of course paying for the oil, not just taking it. That's
Yeah, but wouldn't this like really alleviate the geopolitical situation, like the chokehold that Hormuz has on the world? If
yeah,
let's say, I mean, look, this is a very basic
yes,
understanding. I'm
I
not
know.
an expert in this, right? But like, if Venezuela doesn't have the infrastructure or the industry is run down and they can't extract all of that oil, and the US is saying, hey, we'll now come in, make that investment, extract it, and we're going to take a cut, then wouldn't that allow, wouldn't that change the composition of a reduced reliance on the Middle East?
Yes. What basically is now? I just saw the announcement. I don't know any of the details, but I'm guessing it's going to be 2 or 3 years before the large majority of this is actually able to be brought on market. And at the same time, you have countries in the Middle East that are building pipelines to try to alleviate or try to get their product, whether it's LNG or whether it's oil, to ports that Iran is not going to be able to strike. So those are both things that are going to come online in the next 2 or 3 years. Hopefully, the Hormuz situation doesn't last that long, but it's kind of nice to have that redundancy. And we could be looking at an environment, of course, that this means that there's going to be a notable glut there. Now, what'll be interesting is also Venezuela is a part of OPEC. If they end up kind of going their own direction, and there's some ways to do that within OPEC themselves, but they oftentimes are a little bit more in lockstep. If they're like, hey, no, we need to sell as much oil as we can, we need to get our economy growing. As a result, there might be a glut of oil on the market, and that would be really good. Low energy prices, great for inflation going down, really great for most of the world. Like here in Houston, people would be mad at me for saying that because it's heavily tied, not as bad as it was in the 80s, but heavily tied energy. But
Yeah, but like
uh,
if this is just reserves, then this is not going to happen anytime soon. This is a whole infrastructure project around this. Takes time.
yes, and I don't know Venezuela that well, but like if my guess is like these will be regarded as brownfield projects. So brownfield is there has been some sort of development there. There's already roads, there's some infrastructure, there's power and everything. Maybe it's dilapidated, but it's a little bit different than greenfield, where it's just there's been nothing, and you have to build all the infrastructure up yourself. Brownfield projects tend to take 2 to 3 years. Depends on the size, the scope, what they're getting as well. Refineries have to be built at the same time, and these then these take or pay agreements are done. So usually, like we're not going to see this unless some of the infrastructure, well, maybe a little bit of it. I'm sure some of the infrastructure is okay, but a lot of this we're not going to see for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years.
So I wish we had Matt on here. But okay, we're not going to see it for several years. This is obviously good. Um, but yeah, we still need to like extract all this oil. Who would be the main beneficiaries of this? Like U.S. Uh, oil companies? Like, should we
Uh,
go out and buy? I don't know
I
now
I
or
actually would I would think the opposite, just because if there's a massive amount of oil that's coming online, even if oil companies are like, hey, let's get our cut in this, let's invest in this as well. Um, massive supply means that this commodity is worth a little bit less, and as a result, the oil companies will not be like they'll be excited to have access to more oil, but also like that's going to weigh on the price. Heavy sour, I believe, and it's been a little while since I looked into this, is really good at making plastics and manufacturing certain things that you really can't do with light sweet. So that's probably like the better way to be thinking about this is if there is all of a sudden a supply shock, and there's a lot more of this heavy sour that's available, that'll translate to some much cheaper manufacturing for those things. Interesting. Yeah. Is Canadian, do you know if it's sour or sweet? The heavy light
Are we still talking about
oil?
the no?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I was like,
Okay.
sweet or sour? This is not a food oil, Roy. Come on, man.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, it's like, I think it's acidity is what that's referring to, but yeah, it's very caustic, and you have to like it's a very different style, and there's actually it's more costly as far as infrastructure as well for the heavy sour, but especially the refining process. It's a lot of the byproducts. Let me actually look. Let me just ask. This is not my research. I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT here.
So you can ask the ChatGPT in our audience. They say Canada is sour and heavy.
Okay.
I like.
Yeah, it says major outputs are diesel and heating oil. That sounds right. Gasoline requires more intensive upgrading than light crude. Jet fuel. I didn't know that. Asphalt and bitumen. I knew that. Heavy crude is particularly well suited because it contains lots of large, heavy hydrocarbon. Petroleum coke. I don't even know what that is, but I prefer energy drinks. Thank you. Fuel oil, marine fuels, sulfur. I don't see it here. I think kerosene as well, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah. All
right, we can move on.
Yeah, we're so far away from our expertise. Yeah, let's move on to Q&A.
But this is good. This is like just to bring it all back. This is good. Like, if you are somebody in the US, would you rather have this or not have this? Is how I see it. And like, sounds pretty good.
That's good. Yeah, inflation like is a big concern of mine. Obviously, a big concern of the Fed, and a big part of that's energy. So it's great.
Catherine says we actually require U.S. refineries to refine the oil. Canada doesn't have any refineries to deal with the oil that we pump out. Oh, Canada.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Silly. Yes. So we do have some heavy sour refineries here in the United States.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into the Q&A. Dude, people asking us oil questions is really funny because, like, I don't. Yeah, exactly. Canada has maple. This is like what's going on in my mind right now. It's like syrup.
Abby Jagani just donated $17.99 AED. Thank you for that. Got 40% of my port in Nebius CoreWeave iron. Thoughts on how you would navigate the next year or so? Do you own all three? I own two of them technically. I own a bunch of CoreWeave and I own one share of Nebius. I like all three. Iron I like the least. We will talk about in the Q&A.
Let's do like 3 minutes on iron right now, and then
right now, okay.
Yeah, people will be happy about it, and we can go move on.
So iron. I think there is even a question of like, am I considering investing in iron? Yes, the answer is yes, but not yet. And it's one of those things where I'm just monitoring. It's now on that watch list where it's not crazy that I would invest in it. The reason why is there's two things that kind of weigh on them beyond leadership. Okay, I don't like them at all because of their leadership. Like, leadership's a big part of my thesis, but it also there is an investment philosophy. It's not one that I prefer. That if leadership is your concern, then just invest in a company that somebody that's brain dead can run. And it feels like data centers are that right now. Not quite. I'm not saying you can be an idiot and run a business effectively, but the demand is so palpable. And iron uniquely, they have access to the power connects. That's a big, big deal. It's not nothing. They talked about that they are seeing contracts that are at the $20 million per megawatt, very similar to CoreWeave and Nebius. They have these large Horizon contracts. They've started delivering that with Microsoft. Problem is the timing of that revenue. They don't see that this quarter. They will begin to see that this next quarter and quarter four as well. They have a lot of these projects coming online around the same time. So yeah, The other thing that's weighing on it is Bitcoin. Of course, they're a Bitcoin miner. They've sold a bunch of those assets. Bitcoin is rising. People are speculating that they're being punished for that. I think part of it is just algos will look at this and be like, well, they're down on their Bitcoin relative to where they were last year. Well, yes, but is Bitcoin the main story with Iron? Absolutely not. So I'm not buying here. I'm more open to buying after the report than I was before, even though I do still have concerns with leadership. I think that they're being punished for kind of illogical reasons, and I think that there's upside. So I would not want to be a long-term shareholder of this, but it would be a swing trade. So I'll let you guys know if I do end up buying, but probably not anytime soon. I don't have that much money anyway right now to allocate to something unless I sell something.
Dude, I don't understand you sometimes. Like, why do you act as though there's a gun to your head and you need to buy these subpar companies when you have just better alternatives? Like, I would rather put money in Nebius at these prices than at Iron at these prices. And if Iron fell another 20% and Nebius went up another 20%, I would still choose to say, like, leadership is a huge factor. Iron reported earnings yesterday, and nothing that they said or reported was all that impressive to me, because you're seeing what CoreWeave and what Nebius are doing. And the fact that, I mean, like, I don't like, I don't see the case for Iron at all. The way that I put it to Nate yesterday was, normally when I'm looking at the number 3 or the number 4 in the space, I'm doing so because I acknowledge taking on higher risk for the potential of higher reward. But in this case, you're taking on higher risk and you're not opening yourself up to higher reward because they're just a more poorly run company than the other alternatives.
So just to be clear, this would not be an investment. This is a trade if I got into it. Versus CoreWeave, I'm glad to hold that for long-term. Nebius, glad to hold that long-term. Yeah, sometimes I'll see, where I don't want a long-term position in the company, but it's an opportunity. If I have some money in my swing bucket, which again is a small amount of my portfolio, it's 10% of my overall portfolio, then I'll allocate some money, but I won't hold on to that long-term. I'll have specific price targets or time targets, usually both. And so if something changes, sometimes it does with these swing trades, I get out. Some of them I lose money, some I make money. Overall, long-term investing, I do a lot better, which is why it's 90% of my portfolio, but I do like to have a little bit where I can be tactical.
Hey, man, you do you, man. I hope it works out. And I agree that, like, swing trades, you're buying for a reversion to the mean. Like, you think it's oversold and it's going to go back to a normal range, and by you buying at the bottom, then you're going to get an upside. But at the same time, you could be catching a falling knife, number one. And number two, there's far better swing trades that you can make that just have a better comp. Like, Rocket Lab is at $65 again. Rocket Lab is at $65 again. From
Voyager
80.
is like 32.
Voyager, sure.
Although I'd like it in 25 range, but yeah.
My point being is, like, I can throw a rock at our watch list and I can find 3 swing trade ideas that are better than Iron. Like, you don't need to take on that level of risk because you can get trapped in that position. And all of a sudden, what you bought for a swing, you now became like a community member supporting Iron for the next 3 years.
Yeah, that's why it's important to also have like a loss threshold. And sometimes that works out not very well when you're like, hey, I'm okay losing 30% on this, and you lose 30%, and then it goes up to the moon right after. I've had that happen before. It's so frustrating. But also having that, you can put it as a stop loss, or you can just manually operate it or put an alert. I usually just do an alert. You can always revise your opinion, but what you don't want to do is say, no, this is a swing trade, and that's just what it's going to be, and here's my targets, unless there's something that actually changes in the fundamental thesis. So I'll give you like a counterexample. I entered Robinhood as a swing trade, fully just with options, no shares at all. Just said, hey, this is an amazing opportunity over the next couple of years. And it was. Over that time, like, the company executed ridiculously and relentlessly. And I was like, this is actually generational. I'm going to convert a bunch of these over to shares. And now it's my number one holding. So like, I don't think that Iron will do that. And I don't trust their leadership, but it can also work the opposite way too, where you're like, hey, this thesis is flawed, and they're doing a lot worse. There's issues and problems that they're facing. I'm out. But yeah, that's why it's 10% bucket of my entire portfolio, and I will always have those targets both on the downside and the upside. And just kind of the way it is. So, yeah, but I agree with you. Like qualitatively, I think they're not in the same category as our favorite two, CoreWeave and Nebius right now.
Yes. Jet Set Harry with the 10 pounds, been touching grass for a few weeks, missed your shows, sorry. In one sentence, what have I missed and need to know?
The Fed might raise.
Don't buy iron. All right, let's move on.
NVIDIA good.
Yeah, NVIDIA good.
Wait, he already knew that, so hopefully. All right. Other Q&A.
Jack also donated $10 to Roy, saying, "Hi boys, sorry to ask this question out of sequence, but SoFi at their last earnings call said they had budgeted for 2 rate hikes." I'm just going to start a Q&A actually in their timestamps. Had budgeted for 2 rate hikes. Shouldn't their stock price not move as negative on bad rate news? Jack, you're bringing logic to an emotions fight, man. You're gonna lose that.
Yeah. There's a hypothesis out there, the efficient market hypothesis, that it just prices in everything efficiently. That's not reality. Instead, we live in a market that is very much swung, and the short-term price action always moves on a narrative. When that narrative changes, doesn't really matter as much what the stock price is. It does, obviously. If something is priced extremely, the narrative shifts negative, it's going to fall a lot. But even if it's like undervalued, even if it's down, if the narrative shifts in a not positive way, in a negative way, the stock price usually over the short term will trade down. So, yeah, the stock price is going to move along with the entire macro. And then as they execute, I think people will realize, okay, yeah, they're a strong company. They really are.
Yes. Agreed.
Thank you for that donation.
Let's start our Q&A. U.S. trade tensions with Canada. You still best buds? We're both American. I don't know what you're talking about. Tevis, are there plans for Rocket Lab overview after the sell-off? Are there any plans for overview? Is he asking, like, am I going to make Rocket Lab content?
Yeah.
I could. Let me make a note of it. But, I mean, I don't know what you would want to see in that. I would just say it's back at 65. I have my spreads, so the calls are pretty much all good. I'm underwater on the cash secured puts because I have 65s for next week, so I could get hit on those. I'm thinking about writing some more, frankly, and maybe at 60 for a month out, or maybe even rolling these down to 60 for a month out.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you're going to roll down or if you're going to say, hey, shares at 65, sure.
You know what? Let me make a note of that, and maybe I'll make a video around like, okay, what am I? So video idea. What am I doing with my Rocket Lab spread?
Maybe members only.
Maybe members only ? Roll or get hit or both. All right, cool. I'll make a video on it, Ziv. Thank you for the idea. Let's see. If you didn't have a position on BMNR, would you add here or wait or buy leaps and sell CSPs?
I would probably. I'd probably wait. I'd sell cash secret puts. That's what it is.
That was going to be my
like 23, 25. I'm sure that there's some pretty good premiums there. But
yeah, I was going to sell cash secured puts out of those options, and then maybe second option is wait. But yeah, I don't think I'm. Okay, Nick asks, also any thoughts on SoFi dropping as hard as it did, even though they priced in 2 rate hikes? Yeah, so this is Jack's question also. It's going to trade with the algos, man, in the short term. So it's going to do what it does. And SoFi is generally very range bound right now, We're going to see if it breaks past that. I mean, it tried to break past that 19-ish range into the 20s this week before getting rejected. It's gotten rejected at 20 like 8 times. So one of these times is going to break through. We'll see when
Yeah,
that
here
happens.
I'll show this real quick, which might be helpful to you guys. So this is just over the day. You can see all three of these: Upstart, SoFi, FIGR, all rate sensitive, all lenders, all traded about the same. It's just when there's big news like this, what tends to happen is the market is shoot first and ask questions later. That's
Yeah.
exactly what they do. They'll separate out the wheat from the chaff over the long term, but in the short term, it all moves together.
Yeah. Agreed. Lots of questions today. How big of a figure position am I planning? So figure right now is less than 1% of my portfolio. Maybe I can actually show you guys. Let's see here.
Mine's 10%.
Figure is?
Yeah.
Yeah, figure is 1% for me. I don't know if I should show you guys this, but I will, because why not? So I built this little tool, and it's something that's helping me. Like I basically use it for all my portfolios. I hid everything, but these are my portfolio. This is basically my portfolio right here, and figure is right down here at 1% along with hood. Um, Very small position. I'm down slightly on it, but yeah. And then I also have like my open options positions here in each portfolio they're in, and I can close stuff out from here and just keep track of like 6 or 7 portfolios, 8 portfolios at the same time. They're all down today, but yeah, this is just a little tool. So figure is my. I mean, this is counted for options as well, but it's 1% right now. What would I build it to? I would not really build it past, you know, 3-4% right now with my current level of understanding. But as I get more familiar with it, then maybe. But that's really a 2027 question for me. I think right now I'm comfortable with my current sizing.
Yeah.
And I guess that
And
answers
like I
this
said,
question as well.
if it goes where I think it's going to go, it could easily get to 10%. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think I just answered this, this question as well by showing my entire portfolio. But yeah, that's a little treat. Why do I have so much SoFi? Man, how much time do you have? this is uh this is something that I ask myself some days. But it's a good company.
because your middle name is Noto.
I wish, dude, I'd be much richer if I got adopted into that family. Uh, why so many portfolios? Because some of them are like tax benefit portfolios, and then others are not. So there's like a reason for all of them. I only bought shares of FIGR, no leaps right now. That's a good idea, but again, leaps is something that I reserve for stuff that like I'm really confident in. So right now it's just shares. Hello, Dr. Crossroads. How do you feel last days with a lot of your favorite stocks dumping?
I mean, I prefer that they don't dump, but yeah, I've been tracking the S&P 500 for most of the year, and it seems like any time that I feel like my portfolio is starting to pull away, the market's like, nah, not today, sir. And then also the other way, like it briefly, went red a month and a half ago, and I was like, man. And then of course the market rebounded. So I like the positions that I have. Again, they're there for the long term. I'm not looking to get a certain, I'm competing with the S&P 500, trying to outgain it. I've done that every year except for 2022 by a large amount. And so, yeah, long-term mindset. I like what I hold. So I don't fixate on the short-term price action unless like it's something interesting has happened. So like here today, retracement on a lot of names that went up. It's like, yeah, it's not a big surprise. Versus like a breakout or a technical breakout with like Bitcoin. Like, okay, that's
Mhm.
cool. Or hey, figures back in the 40s, or actually Palantir is not that far away from all-time highs, Tevis. So
Yes, and there's a question about that just for you, and I've saved it.
All right. I love talking about Palantir. So
I have noticed. What app is that? It's an app that I built. So I don't know. Maybe I'll roll it out to people, but TBD right now. I tend to sign myself up for a lot more than I can handle at any given time. So commercializing this app is really something that I am interested in, maybe, but TBD. I tried that
you,
before, and it's a lot of work.
you need to multiply yourself with some agents. So you can have a
Dude.
Travis agent, a tennis agent, and just go nuts.
I got to be like Steve, man. Steve has like 16 agents. I don't even know what he uses all of them for. All right. If you're talking data center bots, can you touch on Microsoft having to address their employees on concerns on it too? Shouldn't they know it's fake news?
I mean, the propaganda is pretty palpable, and there are some legitimate concerns, like power. I think that's a really fair concern. Noise, like if you're living, like some of these data centers are quite noisy. I mean, I'd be concerned with that if it was right next to my house too. And there's a lot of fake news as well. So this is nothing new. Like Silicon Valley, most of these hyperscalers are positioned there, and so that's where a lot of the employees are. And as a result, they are prone to a certain echo chamber. And so we've seen this before with Google, certainly as well, addressing their employees and saying, "Hey, you're hearing this narrative, but it's completely wrong." And but no, it is pretty shocking. I did see that Bloomberg headline. So shouldn't they know it's fake news? They're people too. They fall for this kind of stuff. Like the thing is, data centers. People are acting like data centers have just existed the last 3 years. Data centers are more than a decade old. They're a couple decades old, in fact. Now it's a little different in the size and scale that we're talking about. That's also differentiated as well. But yeah, where were the concerns with like Bitcoin mining? That's data centers, kind of. I mean, same footprint and everything.
Yes. All right. How am I doing? I'm doing good. Any thoughts on upcoming earnings for Broadcom and Fuel Cell? Broadcom, bullish. Fuel Cell, don't know too much about it. Do you actually believe they'll hike? No, I do not actually believe they'll hike. I, in fact, bet against the fact that they're going to hike. So TBD.
Maybe one, but yeah.
Travis Noto has a good ring to it. I agree, man. If I am introduced into that family, oh boy.
So marry one of Noto's daughters, take her last name.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take her last name and live happily ever after. That's like that's an American story, man. That's a beautiful manifest destiny type of story. You know, you're a poor little immigrant living in the third world, and you're covering this company for years, and you marry into that family, and you take their last. That's a story. You know, it's like a Disney story. Anyways, are you guys positioning your portfolio any different from midterms? Good question.
Yeah, I'm not hedging. Haven't done anything differently. I mean, midterms are pretty soon, right around the table. We might get a pullback. I'm okay with pullbacks, but yeah, I think that after midterms, and actually probably shortly before, it's going to be really good, especially for fintech.
Yes, I am closing out a lot of my cash secured puts, and I am raising cash. I have about 7%, 6 or 7% of my portfolio in cash. So that's basically how I'm preparing.
Yeah, I'm what I'm not doing right now is buying, other than the DCA into Bitcoin. I'm just raising cash.
Yes. Football season starting. Who's winning the Super Bowl? Ooh.
Not the Tennessee Titans.
Okay, I wasn't even thinking about that, but sure.
That's my favorite team, sadly. So I have terrible taste in teams.
I like the Lions. I feel like they got robbed last season. They did so well, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see how they do. But I don't know. Football is just I like it a lot. Like it's funny because I never used to watch it. I thought it was so boring. And then one year I got like into it, and then the next year I was like more into it. Now I'm like, I like it.
Yeah, I love it too. So yeah.
All right. Warsh posturing hawkish because he has to think the task force will change how they calculate inflation at some point. Good question. Right?
If they change, it's probably going to be. They're not doing it, I don't believe, for this reason, but it'll probably be more conducive to rate cuts than current measures. Just because, like, especially in the real estate, it's such an outdated. If you're looking at like the rental value of what owners think that they have, and you stagger it over 6 months, it just. I don't know why that was ever adopted as a system in the first place, but it certainly doesn't make any sense today. There are a lot better measures.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just bookmarking some questions here. Yeah, I think they should at some point change how inflation is measured. It's not even like actual people don't feel 3%. You know, don't they include like caviar and all this like stupid like who is buying caviar? Groceries are up like 40%. What are you talking about? 3% inflation? Get it the hell out of here, man. You like how much did $100 buy you at a grocery store 5 years ago versus now? Are you telling me that's 3% growth? Get the fuck out of here. Am I wrong?
You're right. Can you throw up a comment in my chat? This is Kevin Levine, 1974. It's 7:34 your time. He says, Roy, my company built data centers in New Jersey across from Wall Street for Morgan Stanley in 2004. Yeah. They've been around decades, and I'm sure there were zero protests then. Now, it is a different scale, but it's pretty obvious, like, if anyone is paying attention, like, the extreme anti-data center sentiment, it's being fueled by something that is inorganic. There is organic, there is grassroots, but it's just odd. Now, if data centers hadn't existed except for the last 3 years, we couldn't say that, but man, and they're everywhere. I mean, I won't pull it up. It's in the Q&A period, but yeah, thank you for that comment, Kevin.
Highland with the $5. Micron easy money due to single digit forward price to earnings and tariff exemption due to building in the U.S. commitment? Question mark. I like Micron.
I think it's bullish simply because what NVIDIA has said on them. And not just NVIDIA, by the way, like Apple talks about the cost of memory and, of course, how durable they think that is too. Now, it is still going to be cyclical, and it's going to be one of those, probably storage is going to be solved first, and then maybe memory starts easing a little bit in expectation to these foundries coming online. But we still have a couple of years of elevated prices. So they're trading very attractively. I've thought about getting into Micron. I had a swing position.
There you go.
Yeah.
Micron has a way better swing position than friggin' Iron, dude. Why would you do that to yourself? Like, do you not like money or what?
I'm not buying Iron here, but look, if it falls to $25 a share, I don't think it will, but it's come close before. It's hard to not look at that and be like, man, this is really attractive for a swing. Is it still worth holding? Sosman, if you're doing it long term, I would just make sure that you're comfortable with it in the leadership, in the direction, versus like looking at some other data center plays. But yeah, like I said, I think it's an attractive swing, probably at a little bit lower price level for me. I wouldn't want to hold it long term. That's just me personally.
All right, let's move on. Question: is it my opinion, or has sentiment really soured with our high growth AI stocks because of the Burry types? My sentiment.
Yeah, Chanos, Burry. There's quite a few notable bears that are being bearish on AI, and that shouldn't surprise you because AI is the trade on the market. Like, what else are they going to short or talk about? And some of these make a very easy talking point just because of the FUD that's out there, in part because of the bots. Even though there are some legit concerns. Like NVIDIA addressed this in the State of the AI address that they did, where they talked about the circularity of the revenue. Now they said that's not really what's going on here. It is. Let's be honest. But the real question is if it's durable or not. So yes, I think Burry and Chanos and others that have been very vocal and continue to beat that drum. Ed there at Zitron as well. There are people that listen to those voices and don't do their own research. Guys, it's so important, whether you're hearing from us or whether you're hearing from Burry or whoever, do your own research. Don't take it as gospel what you hear just because you heard it on the internet. Like that just doesn't work. You don't know if it's real. You don't know if they've actually researched it. You also don't know the person's agenda. Burry, I think his agenda is largely just to sell subscriptions. But who knows?
Yeah, exactly. My sentiment remains the same on these high growth AI names. Because I would rather listen to Jensen than listen to Zitron or Chanos or Burry or any of these guys. Is it too late to get on the FIGR train? Roy, this is all you.
No. It's $36 a share. Price to earnings forward is a 31. PEG is a 0.7. This is a company that's like 7 billion market cap, 8 billion, I guess, right now, because it's up a little bit. I think, when it was at 25, 27, I'm like, hey, this is probably a 10 to 20x over the next decade. It could be less time. It could be higher. That's the way I see it. So no, it's not too late. I've looked at it more, and I was pleasantly surprised when I bought a bunch and it just started moving up immediately. That's cool. I see it more as a Q4 and next year story. So we're close to that, but I think that there's time.
Yep.
And it's very volatile.
Do we go up or down in September? Good question. September
Probably
is
down.
historically one of the worst months, right? For stocks.
It's usually terrible for crypto. Last year it's pretty good. For stocks, it's not as pronounced. I think it's a little bit weaker of a month. October, November, especially November, December tend to be pretty good. Midterms, especially like shortly before, the market tends to be a little bit weak. So, it wouldn't surprise me like if this is beginning of a little bit of a pullback. But I think by the end of September, we're probably around the same price level as we're here. Just in between, I'd say maybe there's a little bit of a valley, and that's okay.
Yeah, it could come in October too, but I think September is definitely a good candidate for sure. Top 5 stocks to buy or keep. Amazon, Meta, NVIDIA, Nebius.
Just throw in Microsoft and you're good. Hyperscalers.
And yeah, sure. Let's throw in
honestly, like it's hard to bet against hyperscalers right now. They're are they going to be the best performing over the next 5 years? No. But man, there are some that are more attractive than others, but it's hard to look at them and what they're building and be bearish on them. Their revenue is going to explode. It's going to take a little while, but yeah, pretty exciting where they're trading at.
Yeah. Biofraud said, I bought some air at 106. Am I cooked? Air is trading for 80 something dollars now.
Yeah. I see a few new community members. No, this is a very volatile name. So when sentiment in the narrative sours, it moves down rapidly. It was like well, it's funny. I think 2 weeks ago it was like at the all-time high of 146, 149, something like that. And I was telling people, I'm like, for me anyway, fair value range is 95 to $100 a share. It's I guess you could say 90 to 100, but that it was meaningfully ahead. I didn't sell. I sold some covered calls. I actually rolled those out to 180 because I didn't want to get rid of those. But no, long term, I think that they're positioned incredibly well, and they're managing this bit of a dilemma, a dichotomy between wanting to make sure that they are able to meet demand, but also not wanting to do a lot of capex if this is just a hyper cycle, but it is still cyclical. So I think they're very well led, very, very well positioned. If you're in that for a swing trade, I mean, it could go down a lot further. But over the long term, yeah, I love the company. I think it's attractive here.
Can we see the stock draft? Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to. I'm sure it looks terrible for me. Yeah, I'm the only one that's red.
Dr. Roy is down almost 5%. I'm still up 14.5%. Now doing work, Palantir doing work, SMCI doing a lot of work. My short is doing work. Poet is flat, thankfully. Let's take a look at Dr. Roy.
Yeah,
Microsoft,
the last 3 picks killed me.
Oof. Down 50 on this
We had
one.
to pick a micro cap, and I knew very little about it. It's down 50%. That's painful. Glad I don't own it. Axon I shorted. It's of course up, and then Bumble was given to me. It's of course down. So
yeah, the year is long. We are 11% through, so definitely don't judge the full year by what you're getting right now. We'll see how this progresses.
yeah.
We don't have to answer this. We've already answered it. Guys, if NVIDIA has barely moved with 3/4 of perfect earnings, what's going to happen to them when the little hiccup comes? I don't think that's going to come until like 2028, man. If they're guiding for 70% growth in 2028, then like you have 2 years of guidance to anchor your expectations on. And the 70% is because of supply constraints that they can even do higher than that. Like, okay, when does this hiccup come? Sure, they can always miss, but historically they've like beaten and raised. They have a good track record of that. So, I mean, anything can happen, but I'm just looking at what they've done in the past to try to forecast the future out, given their guidance.
Yeah, I think other than like a Taiwan invasion, which is unlikely, I think they're fine. And usually analysts are underestimating NVIDIA just relentlessly. And I think that that's going to continue for some time. So if estimates and expectations are lower than what they keep delivering, I think that'll be consistent for at least a few more years. But if NVIDIA was trading at $400 a share, I'd be more concerned. Here, just over 200, we already looked at the ratios. Like, what are we talking about? They're, like, you have to keep that in mind. Like, there are, like, for the greatest companies in the world, Palantir is an amazing company. There's a price that's too much to pay. I wouldn't be buying Palantir here personally.
Yeah.
I don't think it's egregiously expensive. I just think there's better opportunities. When it's at 106, you can look at multiples and be like, oh, it's too expensive. No, it's actually really cheap. NVIDIA, it's an amazing company. I would sell NVIDIA and probably go into something else. Well, I would sell it. I'd probably cut it in half, honestly. If we were trading at like $400, $450 a share. At that point, I don't think it's egregiously expensive, but I also think some other things are going to move better. So,
sorry, did you say 450 a share?
Hmm?
So, what is that in market? That's like double the market.
It's a double. It's over 10 trillion. I mean, like some of the price targets, like the Raymond James one is the highest, 515. I think they're high.
Yeah.
But would I love to see that? Of course.
I would love to see that too, except I'd like to get in before I see that though.
The only downside for you, my friend, is that Tanner would be insufferable at that point. So
He already is insufferable, dude. That little guy is he's yeah.
Little guy.
He is. He's a short guy. Short king.
How tall are you again?
I'm like literally like an inch taller than him.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that we're around the same. I'm 5'11", so.
All right. Let's see. This is topical. Why are you not both buying NVIDIA here after the earnings? I think we both want.
I'll go. I own it. I own it. I did sell some to fund the buy on CoreWeave, just because I felt like that would move more. I bought CoreWeave with that because I had to sell something that I had more in the 70s, low 70s, mind you, and ran out of money at that point. So I have a little bit of money, but it's like I think I'm 2% cash in my portfolio. I'd like to get that level up to 5% before I buy. But no, I agree. NVIDIA is very attractive here. Um, I would like to add more, but I'm going to raise some cash right now.
Yes, I would possibly sell cash secured puts on NVIDIA and be happy if I got assigned. Is CoreWeave a buy at these levels? What changed from earnings from 110 to 83, Roy? What is going on? Are we going to zero on CoreWeave?
Yeah, the price level change. That's pretty much
Yeah.
it. They landed a couple of great new clients. Their bond rates actually went down. And we got some great reads on the AI space, like from NVIDIA, for instance, and also Nebius right after. So almost everything, actually everything, because the biggest bear case that I feel like is credible, they have these pricing floor commits on Micron, or not Micron, on memory specifically. And I think that might be unique to CoreWeave. It's at least the only one that we know about, which means if memory prices crashed, they would be paying higher than market price on that, which is not great. Instead, we've seen that even the memory cost is durable. So I think everything is just fine for them. Like maybe the one thing that the market's reacting to, I don't think so though, because of the timing of the news, was NVIDIA raising the price on Vera Rubin's and Blackwell's with things that ship out early next year. Again, I mean, you can look at the way that NVIDIA talked about CoreWeave and Nebius the last several earnings calls, including this one, just one mention for each. They've invested directly in them, and they have a vested interest in them in succeeding. So I don't think that this is something that hurts either company. So yeah, really, it's just a price. It is a buy to me, but it's also like, well, with the price falling, it's probably like 16% of my portfolio. I don't really have room to add, and again, I don't have the cash to add.
I didn't listen to a word you just said, but I agree with all of them, Roy, because CoreWeave is cheap. Any thoughts on where gold and silver are headed, given Warsh hikes the interest rates versus cutting it, according to Tevis? I don't like that tone, risky investor. You better watch yourself.
Yeah, I own a little bit of silver. I don't track it closely enough, other than like industrial demand. So, not sure.
I didn't they just hit all-time highs for gold recently? And they no, I mean
It,
like after the pullback. Both gold and silver hit all-time highs and then they pulled back. And then I
it
thought they like hit new or they
it's
at
been
least
a
rallied.
while for silver. Gold peaked in January, and yeah, it's down. It's down a bit from that peak. It's not terrible. It's 4,500 an ounce right now. It was close to 5,500. Silver. I was looking at this the other day. Yeah, $67 an ounce. So it's climbed up a little bit from the floor. What was one of the fun things, since we have kids, moving off to college and moving out and stuff, we bought them some silver back in well, actually, when my daughter was just born, and she's 14 now. So for a lot of that time, the silver was underwater. Now it's up by a fair bit, and she didn't know that she owned any of it. It's not like a huge amount, but for a kid that hasn't had a job before, like when you're talking about this, she's like, "Oh man, I own silver. This is awesome. What's the price? How do I sell it?" I'm like, "You can't sell it. You can't touch it till you're 18." But yeah. Yeah, silver peaked January. It's down immensely, down 38% from that peak.
Yes. So where is it headed? If he hikes interest rates, then presumably it'd go up. If he cuts interest rates, then presumably it'd go down.
Yeah, usually, and there's some concerns with the dollar, and there's some there was a large treasury that indicated that they are increasing the amount of gold reserves that they have by a multiple of 10. I don't remember specifically which it was. I believe it's in Southeast Asia. So yeah, the people will stock up on gold and silver. The price will probably go up, but I'm not going to speculate on
Yeah. Probably the most important question of this entire Q&A, are you going to be calling it Lake Ontario or Lake America, Roy?
it. Lake Ontario.
That's funny because I'm calling it Lake America from now on. Uh, all right, let's see. Did you also see the U.S. has secretly dug a new route near Oman and just needs a bit more dredging?
I didn't
I
see
don't know
that.
about all that. How easy is it to dig up a new route, man? There's like didn't the UAE propose like an entirely new project? Um, yeah, I don't know. If the U.S. is barreling, exporting so much oil, like Trump says, why do we need Venezuela oil? Why would the government just buy homegrown oil and build our reserves?
We don't have we have very little heavy sour. We have a lot of light sweet, and they're good at doing different things. Plus, oil is a global commodity, so um, if you're trying to control inflation and bring that down and wanting some rate cuts, you bring a lot of energy that's cheap onto the market, and it really helps with that.
Yeah. Stop with iron deals, man. Do you think iron will get more deals, bigger backlogs because iron has no backlog, right? Yes, I think iron is going to benefit from the macro being favorable. But at the same time, I would much rather invest in the others because they also have a level of execution that's proven and I can actually trust their management teams. And not to mention that, which companies did Jensen mention on his earnings call? He mentioned CoreWeave, he mentioned Nebius. I don't think he mentioned Iron. So will Iron do well? I think they will. I think they're going to continue to get deals, but I don't. I don't want to bet on them. That's for sure. Roy, can you adopt Tefis so you can become an American already? And
Sadly, no, but
only was that easy.
yeah, I would love that. I would love that.
What's the status on Clarity and what to expect when it passes? Yeah, so September is what we're looking for, and we're expecting for the cloture vote. I think that's how it's pronounced, cloture to pass, so that they can actually move to a vote, and then leave it to U.S. politics. Hey, Roy, they have to have a vote where they have 60 votes in order for them to end the discussion period to get to the vote.
Yeah, and a
Gotta
lot
love
of
it.
them
Gotta love it.
never get closure. So yeah,
Please.
I don't know if it'll pass this year or not. If it doesn't during September, it's not going to this year. We're too close to midterms.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. Midterms are in November, so September. I mean, they have a few days in October, but really it's like the entire month is off because they're campaigning and focusing on midterms. So it's not gonna happen. What's the thesis on investing in FIGR over something like SOFI? Is it just to diversify as FIGR is clearly the riskier play over SOFI and both in the same space? Yeah, I
I
mean, look, it's a small position for me. It's like 1%. So it's not really a big deal. SoFi is 30% of my portfolio. So it's just mostly around diversification. And for me personally, it's to keep it of mind so that I can do more reading around the business because the premise seems interesting. And as I build my conviction, it can build into a larger position, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah, so I have a video, Jack, where I talk about this, and it's one that a lot of people didn't like the title. That I sold SoFi and Nubank and bought Figure. It was options. I swapped options basically from these two. Ended up buying heavily for Leaps for Figure. My thought process basically is every single thing except for one on SoFi that they're doing very well, and I'm very excited about. Figure is better positioned or already doing better. And looking at that, I'm just like, okay, objectively, it's cheaper, it's growing faster, and all these factors that are great for SoFi. And I don't want to sell my shares. I want them long term. Man, I have to acknowledge Figure is killing it. Now, is there more risk? I don't know. I don't know that I would necessarily say that. I think it's probably about the same. But yeah, I think that there's pretty clear line of sight over the next 6 quarters that they're to grow something like 100% year over year durably. Like they're already doing that. So yeah, check out that video.
All right, the big question. When will you two get matching Lambos? Roy, what do you think? When will it be? What color will it be?
I'm happy with my Tesla. I'll keep with that. I did mention on the Rivian stream, it's like that's the only other car that I'm kind of interested in. But I'm a pretty. I mean, you guys can tell the way I dress and what I wear and what I don't like. Jewelry, ornamentation, status symbols. I don't need any of that stuff. So I like efficiency and fun, and that's what the Tesla provides. Is really really cheap cost, low maintenance, and it's a lot of fun to drive. So. No need for a Lambo for me. That's not my type of personality. Tevis can have two, and I'll borrow one of his.
I would love to have two Lambos. You need two. Like you can't just get one. It needs a friend. So
yes, yeah,
obviously everybody knows
it's like dogs. You need to have a second one to keep the one company.
What is a country where you would like to live besides USA? Greece, right, Roy?
Yeah, Greece.
We're going to Greece.
Yeah, there's a lot of countries I'd be glad to live in. I don't know that I'd want to like raise a family necessarily there, but that's almost behind us at this point. And a lot of beautiful places. So.
Roy, somebody asked, no watch for you? Not a watch guy? Apple Watch for the win or what?
Nah. If I got to watch it, probably it'd be a smartwatch. But like, I got a smartphone. What do I need a smartwatch for? So it's just another thing to keep up with and charge. So, no, I'm more of a minimalist.
That must be nice.
It is.
We're at the 2-hour mark. Let's see. We got 15 questions left. Let's see if we can get through them pretty quickly. Yeah. What's the NVIDIA strike that I would go for? 200? Yeah, maybe even 210. Depends. But 200 sounds like a nice round number for me. Do we hold CoreWeave? Yes, we both do. And what do we think? We're both bullish, which is why we hold it. Did you buy Voyager?
No, didn't have cash at the time, and I would have needed to do more research before I was even comfortable investing than investigating. It was very attractive though in the 20s, and it's of course a lot more now. But I'm still interested in it. It's still on the radar. I'm still talking, like Wealthmatica actually, and I talked a little bit about that in Palantir today. I think it's a really good company, and it is on that list of a few different stocks that I'd be interested in creating a position, but not right now.
Oh, right. We also have chess to play. Is that? Are we still doing that today?
Yeah, we could do that. We'll do one game.
Tevis,
maybe no handicap, so people can see that you're legitimately really good. Although if I beat you, that'd be hilarious, but it's not happening.
What are your thoughts on SOFI getting into the S&P this year? Yeah, it could happen, like towards the end of the year. We'll see. I mean, I think September is another rebalancing, and then it's December. So that could be really interesting.
Yeah, their market cap's a little bit higher now, so it's in that range, which is good.
What's a better buy here, CoreWeave or NVIDIA?
I think CoreWeave has more reward and also more risk. NVIDIA, it's very attractive. Not as high reward, but it's still very good reward. Should easily outperform the market, but the risk is not as high.
$200 Palantir this year? It's probable.
There's a decent chance, yeah. September is really good for Fed contracts. I have a video on one specifically that came out, I think, today. I recorded it last night. It's on a $1 billion contract that the Pentagon actually wants to double it. That wasn't approved by the congressional board, but that's the way that they're going. It's pretty incredible.
What are we doing at Houston meetup?
Hold on. Do you regret not buying Palantir at 106?
Yes. When are we doing a Houston meetup? I have a
Hopefully next
question to
year.
that. It's like, do you regret not making money? Yeah, always. But it's not like I was seriously considering it at 106. I would probably regret it more if it was like in my short list and I had my finger on the buy button and I was like, oh, I'll just wait another day. Like it was just,
Yeah, you
I
made
was
nice.
aware, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
When
I think next year, talking about it with a couple of people. So I need probably 2 more months just because of some life stuff to get visibility to what that next year looks like for me for the calendar. But I think so.
yeah. And yes, there are changes to the S&P in
Mhm.
September. Here we
Second
go.
week, I think.
Roy,
Early
if CoreWeave
announcement.
goes to $1,000 a share, would you wear a gold grill for a Friday stream? The answer is yes.
Uh, I guess. Not really.
This is yes. Can SoFi go back above $20 with 2 rate hikes?
Yeah. Well, you didn't
Sure.
give a time frame. This year, I would say probably not, but yeah, next year for sure. I mean, they're still going to grow really well.
Yeah. Did my stream just die? No, we're good. What's your plan to add more FIGR, Roy? And what's your
Yeah.
average?
Yeah. So it's like a 10% of my portfolio type of thing, a little bit north of that because it's run up. And I'm good there. I think it's a great opportunity, a great company, but is it generational? I don't know that. If at some point I'm convinced that it is generational, and I try not to throw that term around easily, then I will add more. But otherwise, yeah, I'll let it ride. Average is, I think it's low 30s. I bought a bunch of leaps near the low, so those are up really nicely, despite the pullback.
Yeah. Why did they lose so much today? Because the market was down.
Rates.
Silly.
Fed.
Have we used agentic trading on Robinhood? Nope. Suggest adding $1,000 just to play with. Very easy to set up. I don't have Robinhood in my country because they hate me here. But
Yeah, I wish I could carve out a little bit more time to play with that, and also the agentic credit card thing. It's interesting, so I need to at some point.
what's the Grail watch? Oh, dude, I have so many. I don't know. I want a nice like day date with like maybe like the black ombre or the green one is nice, but it changes all the time, dude. I yeah, maybe like I mean a Grail watch. I guess we'd have to go big, maybe like a some type of Patek. I don't know. I don't think about it that much, but there's a lot out there. What is data center bots? For data center bots, you can rewind this video to about 35 minutes in.
26.
26? How was that off?
Oh no, 36. 36.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I bought Rocket Lab as a swing, hopefully $70 soon. Yeah, I think we're gonna go back to $70 is like $4 away. How about Nebius, Marvell, and CoreWeave in the near term? I like them.
Bullish on all three.
When you guys are quoting position size for a company, are you considering total portfolio or just the trading account? For me, it's total.
It's it doesn't include. I have a portfolio that's just index fund type of stuff. That I actually had a members only video that shows what my portfolio looked like in 2003, I think. So you can see where it was, and just talked about the power of compounding if the time's on your side. So I never talk about that. I look at that portfolio maybe twice a year, maybe. So it's always just this, which is now much larger than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, APs are nice too. I won't say no to an AP, but we'll see, guys. We'll see. I'm far away from thinking about Grail watches right now. Amazon fake green, maybe a little relief rally before another few sideways years. Nah, man, I think Amazon's going to be over 300 within the next 12 months for sure. That's just me personally. What percentage do you take gains on options? If you made 50 or 60% and had 3 or 4 months on days to expiry, what would you do? If I had 3-4 months, I would absolutely take gains on 50 or 60%. If I had like a week or 2 weeks, I might let it ride if I was okay with the outcome. But if I have a long time horizon and I've captured the majority of those gains, I'm taking profits on the full position.
Usually, when it's a leap and it has 3 months or so, I figure out then what I'm going to do with the rest of it. So that's part of the reason why I ended up doing that. What I did with Nubank and SoFi options
Yeah.
is they expired in January, like that third week on the monthlies. Um, Even though they were, well, for SoFi especially, like deep in the money, things can happen. So
Do you like Omega Seamaster 300 meters? You mean like this? Yeah, I like it. Hold on. Yeah, go. That's what I got. It's my daily wear.
throw up the walrus question. I like that one. And we'll end that on that one.
What
What
was
was your dream
your
jobs as kids, and what are your dream jobs now? So, I have my dream job. I've not shared what that is, publicly. Tevis does know, and it's a fun thing. When I was a kid, when I was a little kid, I thought, like most kids, like a doctor or policeman, that sort of thing. What in high school, my freshman year in high school, I thought I would become a lawyer. So it's not a normal. I don't think like little kids dream about being lawyers. My undergrad was actually heading that direction. It was in justice there, and I was planning to go to law school. Life happened, changed my direction. Like the biggest part of it was I took a class that was very similar to what a lot of legal work actually is. And I hated it with every fiber of my being and was like, okay, let me actually reevaluate. I did finish that degree, but yeah, I got my dream job now. Love it. Tevis?
I don't even remember what my dream job was as a kid, man. I know that's like bad to say, but I just don't. I think something creative, if I had to think about it, like something artistic. I don't know. I don't remember. That's like the bad. If I knew, then I would pursue that, but I don't know.
I'll share like one other thing that's kind of fun with this. So I had when I was a kid, I think maybe I was like sixth grade or something, sixth or seventh grade, and I thought about creating my own business, and I didn't know what that was. And again, I'm old, so this was before the internet was like meaningful. It kind of existed, but I graduated in '98, just so you guys know. So internet was fairly new then. And I was creating these business cards. I had a business name, and I had a few different thoughts on the business. And a long time later, after my master's degree, actually, I guess while I was finishing it up, I started that business. I had it for more than 10 years. And the name that I picked for that business was basically that exact name that I had when I was a kid. Actually, it was the exact same. So it was one of those fun little things where I was like, I'm going to own a business, don't know what I'm going to do. And the internet gave me that opportunity.
Yeah. Every Albanian kid wants to either be a soccer player or a family boss when young. It's probably one of those two.
Chess?
Roy would have fought against Meta in the court. Yeah, man. Roy would have lost that battle.
We didn't even talk about the settlement.
No, we did not.
I'm good with it.
You good with the settlement? What did I say, Roy? Did I not say it was going to be a nothing burger? Dude,
I said that too.
$12 billion? It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, I said the worst case scenario is 50. It'd be paid out over 20 years. Instead, we have 12 paid out over 10.
It's a joke.
Absolute slap on the wrist. So even the changes, I've not read in great detail on those. It doesn't sound like it's going to be anything that bad for Meta. So there are other lawsuits, but yeah, that was the big one. So
all right, play a friend, Dr. Crossroads. We're doing 5 minutes or what? What time frame? I forget.
let's
10 minutes?
do 10 just because I probably need it. You can give yourself less time if you want.
Standard, non-rated, randomize, send challenge. Okay, and we are going to share the screen. Thank you, everybody, for being here on a Friday. We are going to be streaming this, and then we're probably going to be done for the stream. Let me see what's bigger. That's bigger. Oops. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, Tevis is white. I'm black.
All right. Don't have to be racist about it. Is Besant and Yields trying to front run Warsh? Ooh, that's a spicy comment, Kevin.
That is actually kind of interesting. Like we've seen the Trump administration is not always. It's been a little bit chaotic, and it's not always in lockstep, and I don't love that. Already fighting me.
Wait, we're not doing any odds. We're just playing straight up.
Yeah, you're gonna crush me, but that's okay. I was telling you to get less time for yourself, like give yourself 2 minutes or something. But you didn't do that, so that's okay. And I just messed up, but that's okay.
Loser has to buy Iren. I'll take that.
Then I forked, actually. Bummer. What a chaotic game.
I know.
I really wish I wasn't in check. That's terrible. Yeah, I've lost. Maybe. Probably.
I wouldn't say that. If there's a Houston meetup, I'd love to take you both out and Matt for lunch, Zach says. It's very sweet, Zach. Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Any TV shows you guys are watching these days? What are the TV shows I'm watching?
What's a TV show?
Exactly. Yes. Bro, you got to focus on the game, big dog.
No, it's lost.
Let me just do that.
I was hoping you wouldn't do that.
Stock market is the greatest show on earth, Kelly says. I agree. It is. It is the greatest show on earth. How can you watch a TV show if you don't have a TV? Yes, you guys know me so well, man. I do not have a TV. Let's go there. And there. Austin is a better city for a meetup. Much to do, and of course, SpaceX nearby, or Vegas for the Tesla diner. Yeah, is a Tesla diner even good?
I've
I
heard
thought
it
it was in
is, but
California, but I guess in
yeah,
Austin.
it's in LA, I think.
I log into the stream and I see people playing chess.
Sacramento.
Yes, that's how you know you got to the good part of the stream.
The part where you actually get to see Tevis without any handicaps. Uh, yeah. I don't feel like I can. I don't think I can do that. Yeah, it's just. It's terrible. It's over.
Oops.
I will go out.
What the dude? I gave you my queen.
Nah.
One more.
Yeah, you want to do a time handicap?
I don't know how to do that, but
You can give me a piece if you want, but I don't know that needs to be a queen. It probably does need to be a queen, but
yeah, I just don't know how to do the time handicap. I can give you time,
okay.
or maybe let's start.
Yeah, maybe you want to restart and do like a
Okay, hold on. Let me pull this down.
3-minute game or something, and then you can just give me extra time.
Exactly. So let me go with play a friend.
Yeah, Matt does live in Houston, Kelly. If we do a Houston meetup, I'm gonna for sure make sure it works with his schedule. Haven't talked to TJ about it. He's not in Houston, but he's in Texas. But he's another guy, and actually, there's quite a few people that live in Houston. I've met a few, but should be fun. I think it'll be pretty well received.
All right, so 3-minute, and I'm just gonna give Roy a bunch of. I gotta start it first,
Right.
and then can I give you time? Can you start?
Yeah.
It's really slow.
Yep.
Wait, it doesn't go higher than 3. It just resets at 3.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I just know that I got extra time if I need
You
it.
just get unlimited time.
Yeah.
I was so looking forward to seeing Matt in Toronto. So bummed he couldn't make it. Yeah, I agree. Do you play golf, Roy?
I don't. My wife tried to get me into it, and I just, not really for me. It was fun. I would just like the hard thing is golf is one of those things where it takes a lot of time to play, and there's been a few stretches of time where I have a lot of time, but it's pretty rare. Do you play golf?
No. No. Yeah, I don't play golf. I'm not rich enough for that, man. Let's go there, I guess. Yeah, Walrus Man says, just quit your job, Roy. Manage your portfolio from the luxury of your golf cart in this brutal Texas sun. Bro, it's like raining in Texas.
It is right now, but man, it's been a really nasty, brutal summer. Well, August has been anyway.
Kelly says, I could never see Tevis golfing. Yeah, it's like upside down baseball. I've been to driving ranges. Those are really fun when I get to actually hit it and not, the ground. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like golf. Maybe I'll get into it in my twilight years. Charles is challenging the both of us to a game of Mario Kart 64. Oh wait, let me give Troy some time.
Yeah,
You gotta remind me,
there's
Roy.
almost a move, but it just doesn't quite work out.
There you go. You're reset to full time again. Are you trying to take my pawn here at f2?
Oh, it says it's going to auto resign. I don't want it to auto resign. I'll
Yes,
just do it.
because you don't move.
It's
Wait,
not going
what?
to work.
Why are you sacking?
Yeah. Didn't work.
Bro, what are you doing, Roy?
Oh, I didn't know that it was going to.
Oh, because you didn't move in like 3 minutes.
Yeah. I've never had that happen in the game. I guess if you're playing with a 10-minute timer, that's why. But
Yeah, with a 10-minute timer, it's like it'll be way more lenient on you. But
no, it's the sacrifice. It needed one. I was looking at if I could do a what's it called when
the windmill, yeah.
removal of the guard. Removal of the guard. There was one piece. If I was like, okay, if I could figure out a way to force remove that, and I couldn't quite figure it out, and so I spent all that time. It would have been actually a really interesting line, but yeah, it was awful.
Right.
So
Well, you tried, and that's all that matters.
I guess.
Got to match the aesthetic of watches and stocks with some golf. Yeah. Just tick off all the white people sports. I'll play pickleball next. I've never played pickleball, actually. I should. It sounds like fun. Have you ever played
Yeah,
pickleball?
I've got the paddle behind me, but no, I've never played it. I would actually love to learn how to play that. It looks like a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is also it's just lost. That's okay.
Uh, so aggressive, Roy. Okay. You chess maxing over there. Yes. All right.
Oh.
Do I have bougie watches? No, I don't. If you're mentioning APs, then I don't have any APs, Kelly. I'm not that rich. All right. We can't all be super successful people. Oh, gotta give Roy some time.
I was good with it.
Stop being so
It's
hard on
just
yourself.
yeah.
Why? Okay. Why don't you take with the knight, man? Why do you?
It's just it's done.
Hmm.
This is why Tevis gives me a queen when we play usually. Wait, why does it say 809? Oh, it's because I never play this mode. Like I'm not that bad. I'm bad, but
Now, how do I win this game? Question. Aspirations of learning to fly. Did I tell you guys about that? Maybe.
mm-mm.
Yeah.
Like thinking
I
about being
wanted
a pilot.
I wanted to sign up for flying classes this summer, but I went to Europe instead. But yeah, flying could be really cool. Um, choppers or fixed wing. The no, not helicopters. I would fly like the little Cessnas. Like I feel like those could be nice. But yeah, I thought about it. I still want to do it. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I don't know. Could be fun.
You
One
good?
more?
I'm good.
I'll give up a piece. Or not.
That's okay. We'll play again next time though. Yeah, I'm actually really close to 1,000. I think if I had some time to play for a few hours, I'd probably get there. Which is like, if you guys don't play chess, yeah, Tevis is like 1,900, 1,800.
Give away the king.
Yes, I might win then if he gives me the king. All right, we'll call it good there. The guys, thank you so much for staying with us, including even to the weird chess part. And yeah, Kevin, I don't think I said thank you for that donation, so thank you for that $5. You guys make this a lot of fun. As always, have a great weekend. Touch some grass. Don't stare too long at that red screen.
Thanks, y'all. Goodbye.